mount, this thief must be held to account. He's bleeding us dry, his victims will die, the number of which he's lost count.
Yeah. Then let's see what happens when Yellen takes over.
Oh, have you seen the Photoshop that Banzai did of her?
No.
Oh, you have to see this. Just a minute.
And then we've got Alan Grayson saying the defense done such a great job at stealth socialism, redistributing the wealth. Yeah, that's just what I wanted to hear.
Stealth socialism.
He gets his.
Stealthy about it.
He gets his and watches everybody else's wealth redistributed.
Yeah.
Which you know, I gotta bring up Mike Kitch again.
It's the aristocracy, man.
That the Democrat operative with byline on the Laconia Daily Sun. He did a hit job on the first on Common Core up in Alton, where Jane's doing some good work.
Oh yeah.
And then on the workforce housing, he basically said Ken Eyring is nothing more than a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, all those facts that he has and the actual language from the government, that doesn't mean anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So
words don't mean anything.
Unless he writes them. But when you put conspiracy in the title, you know what he's trying to do. He's trying to discredit. I mean, it's the same thing that I'm seeing now all over the place with Ted Cruz. Every single journalist is calling him... I mean, the whole idea is not to report the news, but to discredit it. And they're certainly doing that.
Well, as long as Texas likes him.
Oh, well, you know something? I put up something last night, and I was surprised. I always thought the Buckley rule was...
Oh, I saw that,
yeah, you always elect the person that's most rightward that's electable. No, I was wrong. I've been wrong all these years. You know, who's going to advance conservatism? And by that rule, Cruz hit it a double homer out of the park. Grand slam twice over.
Absolutely. And he doesn't strike me as somebody who gives a damn what they think. So he'll continue to do what he does, and he's got a couple of pretty decent folks to help him out, and they, you know.
And you know, it kind of goes back to everybody's been looking for another Reagan. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's a Reagan. I keep thinking we all need to be a Reagan. I mean, that's why we do what we do. But in a lot of cases, a lot of people want a leader just to say, okay, I'm going to fall.
Oh, yelling.
Great.
Bernanke's faithful dog.
And I think a lot of people will follow him. I just hope it doesn't become a cult of personality.
I don't know how. I mean, well, you're always going to have that at some level. Because to be honest with you, to get elected to office, somebody has to adore you to help you get there. You know, you can't... People don't just donate hundreds of their hours for no cost without having some kind of fascination with, you know, people.
Right.
But one would think it's to the ideas.
You hope so, but you know, just from meeting people around here, you know.
No bailout, of course.
Yeah, that was the other thing, the bailout.
300 million? I thought somebody said 100 million, now it's 300 million.
This morning it was 320.
Oh, really? Yeah, it was about 100 yesterday. Yeah.
And you know, that's where I had my first blow up with Mike Kitch. He said, you should be sending your money to all these places. And I said, that have frittered away their money by their political leaders, oftentimes who have ended up in jail. He said, yes, because people are hurting. And what's the...
So do you just give $100 to an alcoholic every week so he can go drink himself to death? I mean...
Well, that's essentially what he...
Or do you give money to the family of the alcoholic that didn't stop him?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the problem with that is I have had... both of my parents were recovered alcoholics. I went to hundreds of thousands of AA meetings. The family can almost do nothing if that person doesn't want to stop drinking.
No,
correct.
They have to hit bottom. The only thing
well, not necessarily, but I mean, yes, the family should try to intervene, but for the most part, until you actually get them to admit they have a problem, they're not going to stop. And
right.
Just,
you can't help them stay afloat. That doesn't.
We got 10 seconds, ladies and gentlemen.
And Detroit still is in denial.
Yeah.
Make sure it's on.
This is the part you can't hear.
That's what I forgot to do.
We've got a shiny new board, and it still has that new board smell. Welcome to GrokTALK, brought to you by GrokTALK.com. Coming to you not live, but pre-recorded from Concord, New Hampshire.
But for not too much longer.
But not too much longer. We're going to work on that, and that's a good thing because we've already got the phones working. We're going to have a phone-in guest today. We have a couple people coming in. I'm going to scoot over to my email where I save everything so I can tell you who's going to be here today. Kevin Bloom will be back, and he's bringing lobbyist Kurt McNeil with him, and they're going to talk about some legislative initiatives, recognizing poker as a game of skill, reforming asset forfeiture, and getting industrial hemp out of the Senate. So
Which Senate?
Ours. That's what's wrong with the Senate. They've been smoking industrial hemp. Dr. Julian Cooper of Liberty Harbor Academy will be back to visit us for an education update with a specific focus on Common Core, which will be kind of a theme today because after her, Shane Vanderhart from Iowa, whose bio I just misplaced from somewhere. Here he is, founder and editor of Caffeinated Thoughts, writer for Truth in American Education, communications consultant to American Principles Project. Shane will be we'll be calling Shane to have a conversation about Common Core as well.
And he is sort of the one of the alternatives to Granite Grok based in Iowa. Not that he calls himself Grok or Granite Grok or Iowa Grok, but he is also a political type person, just like we are here in New Hampshire, so he's a lot of fun to talk to.
Caffeinated Thoughts is also an excellent title for a blog.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's a cup of coffee and everything there. It's really good. Another quick note about New Hampshire-related Common Core. The State Education Commissioner, Dr. Virginia Berry, is coming to the Bedford High School on Monday, September 30th. This will be posted in time for you to have heard that from me at 7 p.m. to talk to administrators and school board members from districts in the south central part of New Hampshire. The meeting was initially closed to the public, but Dr. Berry reversed that decision thanks to prompting from the press, in this case radio host and friend of the Grok, Rich Gerard,
from
Gerard at Large. And that means that this is our golden opportunity to hear from the Commissioner with our own ears about New Hampshire's vision for implementing Common Core. Gary Krupp, who's a friend of mine who's very knowledgeable in this area from Merrimack, sent me this information. He would like to encourage, as I think have others, that parents and taxpayers appear at the event. You don't have to speak or talk or anything, but they want everybody to show up wearing something red clothing to identify them as, basically they want to fill the whole room with people wearing red.
I'd rather see it blue.
Blue?
True blue American. Red, I'm sorry, I'm still of that age that red meant something completely different.
Well, it's a GOP color.
Well, but the GOP's lost its way too.
True,
Royal blue is the color of actual
okay, for the sake of argument, red is the new blue. Now,
well, would they allow us in, even though we are not certified TV journalists with cameras?
Okay, let's go there. Skip has a story to tell.
I have a story to tell.
Wait, well, go ahead and tell your story.
Well, actually, give me a moment so I can pull up the email.
All right, real quick. Kerry and Obama are signing the UN Arms Treaty, and whether the Senate wants to pass it or not. President Obama spoke by phone with Iranian President Hassan Rouhani. I would like to know. He won't talk to the GOP, but he'll talk to that guy. I want to know if Valerie Jarrett called Rouhani or if Rouhani called her, because we know Obama was just like in another room and she came in with the phone and said, "Here, talk to this guy."
Yeah,
Nairobi. That's the way it works.
The Nairobi Westgate Mall attack is striking similarities to a book by author Stephen, I'm lost, I can't read his name, Hunt or something like that, called Soft Target, where 12 Somali Muslims take over the Mall of America. Thought that was interesting.
Weren't there 12 American Somalis in Nairobi as part of this?
Could be, I don't know. But that was brutal.
That was brutal. Wait for it, from Minnesota.
Absolutely.
Ooh, I didn't read the whole article. Maybe
it was all a trial run.
Maybe it was. So, Mall of America. Go there armed. You've been warned. The new plan regarding Obamacare appears to be tough love, which is to say that it's so horrible and impossible to run. The best plan for Republicans, see also rhinos, is to let the signature progressive legislation implement and collapse under its own weight. Yeah, okay, that'll work great. Democrat Patty Murray has channeled New Hampshire Democrat Carol Shea Porter by saying Congress wouldn't be such a mess if women were in charge. Well, Nancy Pelosi was there and we got Obamacare, so let's talk about that later, maybe.
Yeah, but Patty Murray sees that as a plus, given that she's part of the Progressive Caucus. They want this thing.
Yeah, I know. They want to ruin the country. Greenville, North Carolina man apparently picked out 4 people he shot outside a law firm near a Walmart in Greenville because they were white. The shooter, Lakem Faust, was black. The shooting happened last June 21st.
Correct.
And that got a lot of press, didn't it?
Well, we know why.
Yes, we do. And finally, before we move on to Skip's fabulous story, 2 points. Shades of Gibson guitar, Lumber Liquidators was rated by DHS, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and the DOJ. Apparently they think they're importing wood they're not allowed to import. And they invaded the Toronto, Virginia headquarters and a local store in search of the so-called contraband wood of some sort.
Did they bring a bear cat or two?
I don't know. I haven't seen photos yet, but I know that Gibson, I just learned, had paid a $300,000 fine after they were invaded and their property was stolen by the government. So,
well, more to the point, did the CEO give lots of money to Republicans?
I bet we could look that up, and I didn't have time this morning to do that.
That's the operative question that I am seeing people ask.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's always the motivation.
Gibson did.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's always the motivation. And
You know,
people, Democrats are like, oh, it's no big deal. Oh.
Maybe Republican businesses should ensure that all of their staff are trained and armed, and if they get a criminal invasion, they should shoot to kill, because it's their damn property and they don't have the right to search or seize it.
Yeah, with the Gibson guitar, I thought it was rather unusual in that here's the U.S. trying to enforce what they thought was an Indian law, and it turned out not to be true. There was no such law, but we can't even seem to get them to enforce our own laws.
That was probably, that was an early version of the it's a YouTube video excuse, I'm telling you. Oh, it's an Indian law, it's an Indian law.
All of the relevant Indian law was satisfied.
Yes.
Gibson jumped through hoops to ensure that.
Yeah. But
they didn't jump through the hoop where they gave money to Democrats, therefore they are subject to arbitrary intrusions by our tyrannical government.
Like I said,
And
arbitrary intruders have to die, and it has to start soon.
President Obama honored former House Speaker and guest last week, Bill O'Brien, by referencing a quote he made with regard to Obamacare.
Yeah, I put up a little thing that I saw at Liberal Logic 101, which I thought kind of said it all.
And how'd that happen? Did he know he was quoting Bill O'Brien?
No, they probably didn't. He doesn't write his own speech.
No, but it was there.
He said it. Doesn't mean
he
anything. It's got an expiration date like everything else, but he did say it.
Yeah, yeah. But again, during this time, of course, all of us Republicans wear explosive vests, we're political terrorists, we're arsonists, we're, I mean, the demonization just comes and comes and comes. And then the Republicans, the establishment Republicans think that we're so nasty just simply because we use their own words against the Democrats. Oh, stop being uncivil. It's like, guys, you're letting them walk all over you once again.
Wondering when John McCain's going to call Hassan Rouhani and say hi now that Obama's done it.
Well, you know, I noticed that McCain's harder on Ted Cruz than what he is on the Iranians at this point.
Seems like it.
Yeah, it's like...
so tell us your tale.
And McCain called Bob Corker a traitor, I believe. And didn't Bob Corker call Cruz the same thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's going on here? McCain's obviously out of original ideas. I think he was a second.
I think what you're seeing here is a bubbling up of the fight that's been going on for quite some time. You see the new Republicans being led in the U.S. Senate by Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Mike Lee, those with a more serious bent to those that look upon the Constitution as more than just being a scrap of paper underneath a thick piece of bulletproof glass with special lighting on it in the D.C. Capitol. That the words actually do mean things, and we ought to be following them. And I think what you're seeing is that the establishment Republicans are going, oh crap, now we actually have to follow rules. We can't just make this up on the fly and go along. And you're seeing it, that people like us see a lot of the establishment Republicans as being Democrat-like. And I found a post, and I got to put it up. But basically it's a case of, we'll do the same things as the Democrats want to do. We'll just make it cost less and we'll be more efficient at it. Whereas people like us are saying, government should not be doing this in the first place.
Right. Well, I like it to a contrast between two groups who want the levers of power to do stuff to us, as opposed to the bulk of the people and the people who obey the Republican platform who want government to do the bare minimum to maintain our essential liberties and to stay the hell out of the way.
Yeah, you're seeing the establishment Republicans more and more leaning towards what the progressives' main mantra is, which is positive rights, what government should be doing for you or to you, depending on your point of view, as opposed to what the framers said, which is negative rights, that government should be held away from us, because once the government can do anything, then it will do everything, including taking away your rights for the common good.
I think it's really reduced itself to a huge game of progressive party politics where everybody just, you keep hearing this phrase, well, you have to get elected, well, you have to get elected, so you got to say and do whatever it takes to get in office and stay there. No. I mean, that's the mindset. I mean, they all say it. Chris Christie says it. Senator Gary Lambert has said it on our program at least 2 or 3 times. He said it again when we were at the Allen West event. You just hear this idea that they're willing to do whatever it takes to get in office under the premise that once there they will be able to make corrections. And as you pointed out, the correction is that they put their hands on the levers instead of the other guy, and they don't change much else. Because they honestly, they don't have the spine to do it. If you can't even stand up against something as horrendous as Obamacare, just on principle, especially after claiming for years and years and years that you would do anything to prevent it from being implemented, you're clearly just there for the ride.
Yeah. A few Republicans want to legislate federal morality. The Democrats want to legislate federal immorality, and the rest of the Republicans pretty much fall somewhere in between the two. But they want the levers of power to do the things that they want to do to you. They cannot grasp the concept that they should be taking in a large buzzsaw and cutting off the levers of power at the root.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing for us is that people should be able to decide for themselves without the coercive influence of government, basically making all of the major decisions. And that's the battle that we see ourselves in. We see it here in New Hampshire. The party is extremely divided, whether the party leadership wants to make happy talk to the opposite of that. There is a groundswell that I still hear from the grassroots that we're very unhappy because you don't keep your word. And that's the thing. And I've been saying this now for several months. If you want the votes, you have to work backwards. First, to get the votes, you have to have the trust of the people. To get that trust, to earn that trust, you have to be consistent. What you say is what you're going to do and how you're going to vote. And I laid that, perfect example is Frank Inter, who's now announced for a 3rd race against Carol Shea Porter. He told us lots during his campaign. He wasn't a Tea Party candidate, but he certainly aligned himself with Tea Party principles. And he relied on Tea Party people to get elected. And a lot of us worked hard to do that because he was saying the right things. And over again, I'm going to keep doing it. He promised to cut spending. That was the #1 thing that we sent him to. He failed on both continuing resolutions. He failed to be consistent. He lost my trust. And he lost a lot of other people's trust. He didn't get the votes he needed. The votes went somewhere else. This is a lesson Republicans are going to start to have to learn. Because I'll tell you, if they don't learn this, it won't matter, because the Democrats are going to take over in 2014, and then Obama's going to have the run of the rest of the table.
I believe the Democrats can do a better job of targeting the middle, the moderates, the squishies than the Republicans can. But the Republicans keep chasing that ephemeral goal. If the Republicans will simply court their actual conservative base, they'll build up enough votes to get there. And if their message is good, they'll pull enough of the middle along as well. But if they lose,
need to do what Reagan did, and he talked about what was important to people.
Yeah.
He didn't really frame it in the context of parties and politics and things like that. And the Democrats do a pretty good job of that, although they go for the flamboyant, over-the-top language, and people kind of respond to that. But Reagan was very successful because he could speak to people. He did a very good job. And he was very polite about the way he insulted his opponents, basically, without actually insulting them. He just made it clear that what they wanted wasn't great, and he tried to explain why, and people gravitated to that. And I don't think we really have a lot of that. It's become so divisive that everybody's either being very defensive, kind of
like when he said he wouldn't make fun of his opponent's youth and inexperience.
Right, exactly. Perfect. You know, that's what I mean. I'm going to take a quick second here to remind you that if you could please take a moment and like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and you can also keep up to date on the latest video, of which there is much, from events around the state of New Hampshire. Just search Granite Grok in any of these portals and you'll find us there. We also encourage listeners to look for this program on Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, and on AC Nation, and of course at GraniteGrok.com. GrokTALK is brought to you by GraniteGrok.com and the bloggers you see sitting before you and the few that you don't see at all. Yes. And we appreciate all their effort and hard work. We also appreciate your donations, which make things possible, like this shiny new board that I'm sitting in front of, and we do appreciate that very much and hope that you continue to support the program.
And on the right-hand side near the top, there is the Grok Gear little rectangular button. If you too want to show a little bit of solidarity with us, put a little jingle in our pockets so that that it won't stay there long. It will go to things like the board and more equipment here to better our production quality. Go buy yourself a hat or a shirt or something else.
Well, maybe not a hat, but definitely shirts are available. Hats will be in bulk, and we'll be getting into that through the site itself, through us.
Yes.
When we have the means. So, Skip was going to tell us a little story before we get too far afield.
I was going to say exactly the same thing.
Yes. Both Mike and I got a little email from the Hillsborough County Republican Committee Chair, Ray Chadwick. Now, he's generally been a pretty good guy. But he gave us some news that sort of like, shades of being kicked out of a previous meeting. I wanted to make you aware of this policy below that we've taken for the Hillsborough County Republican Committee meetings and events. The intent is to counter Democrats attempting to record, text, video our meetings and events, particularly speakers thereat. The issue is that if we allow any group to do so, we need to allow them all. I don't know if you had planned on attending and comment from the picnic Saturday. If not, this email is moot. If so, I'm sorry, but we will not be able to accommodate you. Please email me or call me with any questions. I've neither emailed or called because he's made it pretty clear he does not want Granite Grok at the Hillsborough events. Now, when we go to an event, we bring cameras, we video the entire thing, we put up all the video, we don't take things out of context. We also have made it quite clear that for any speaker, they are free to use our video of them in any way that they want. All we have ever asked, and this goes to Ray Chadwick and the Hillsborough Republican Party Committee as well, all we have ever asked is just give us a link back. Sure, put up the video. Take a slice of the video. But just give us a link back so that we can show the entire video in context. But I take... to say that I'm not amused at being compared to being Democrat trackers at what are usually public meetings, because just like most other events, most of these meetings are published in the newspaper, openly public, which means that you can go there and do things. Now, it's one thing if it's just a regular meeting, no notice is given, and it is a closed group. But yet here we are, we're state committee members.
Oh, and we're not talking about recording the business meeting. We're talking about speakers, people. Yeah,
we're talking about a public speech by a public figure at a public meeting, and more to the point, even if he claims to have a problem with Democrat trackers, and he claims that that is an issue with the venue, where if he permits any recording, he has to permit all recording.
That's not true.
I say to him, it's his meeting. And if the venue doesn't honor his requests, he gets another venue. That's the best way of
I actually had another thought too. Wouldn't it be to his advantage to have somebody like Granite Grok there who will record the entire event, so that in the event that a tracker does capture some video and does edit it selectively, they'll have the entire version available. Now, I said
or if a newspaper misreports what was said.
Right, we would have an entire record. Now, I think he said something about that they do record some things, and...
Right, he usually sets up his own camera for the local cable public access channel, and that's fine and dandy. So he may get that whole thing, he may not. Depends on what arrangement he has with the channel. I can't get it because I don't live in that area. But the other thing is, one of the things that we do, sure, we opine and we go after Republicans just as much as we do Democrats. Hands up, yes, we do. Well, I'm not sure I want to use the word guilty of that, but we certainly do that because
you're guilty of having principles.
And that's it. We always opine from, and I would say that we are the most vociferous defenders of the New Hampshire Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, and the party platform of anybody here in New Hampshire. If you want to know where we stand, look at those 3 documents, and pretty much that's about it. And yes, I will also add that amongst us all, and I am also want to opine from a evangelical Christian basis. So I'll bring in another document, the Bible, which seems to be under attack as well by the secular humanist movement that's now going on in the U.S.
Lots of opining going on.
Yes, but when it comes to the video, we generally shut up. If we have our full kit there, you and I oftentimes will banter back and forth about stuff. But when it comes to a real speaker doing real stuff, we've got the real video, and we put it up in its entirety, and we shut up for the most part, unless something drastically bad happens. And that's the full measure. That's our citizen journalism part that comes up.
And many places actually ask us to record so they can have a record so that they can share it with their absent friends and what have you. So this is actually doing a disservice to the members that were unable to attend. And I'll go further and say that myself and Mama actually wrote to him separately. I wrote and said, should Mama have been sufficiently generous as to buy tickets, please consider this to be a cancellation refund request.
Yeah. Yes.
She wrote to him and said, funny how you can keep asking us to buy picnic tickets, but you can't send us informational emails. What's up with that? Because they've been very lax with their email lists as well. So something's not quite right over at Hillsborough County.
Well, and you bring up a good thing. We do this for the people who can't get to those meetings. I've spent a lot of time and a lot of expense to be able to equip us to be able to do this kind of thing. And I know what it's like to want to go to a particular meeting. I can't get there for whatever reason, and now the meeting's gone. When we get to one of these events where there are going to be speakers, especially when the presidentials start rolling around, we serve as a storehouse of complete speeches. People will be able to make decisions based on what they see, and we live stream it.
And you can see these all on YouTube. There's hundreds of them there from years ago.
Yeah.
So you can go to youtube.com and look up Granite Grok, one word, and you will find our page. And by all means, please like us and scroll through all that and search it and see what you can find.
Yeah,
and you can watch the evolution of some of these politicians as well.
That's correct.
As they, what do the Democrats call it? Grow in the job.
That's true. Now here's another line out of his email, and I am going to be posting this and I'm going to be commenting on it. In practice, I plan to apply this policy to only allow videotaping done by HCRC, the Hillsborough Committee Republican.
That would be Pam Manny.
And by established TV news stations. So, in other words, they're taking a play out of, and this is where he's going to start grimacing, and maybe I'll hear back from him, but, there is the attempt by the Democrats in Congress to license journalists, something that's never been done, because a journalist, I feel, is not somebody that just gets paid for what they do. It is something that you are.
Right, and you're referring, I think, to the bill about to be passed, or that the Senate is attempting to pass.
Dick Durbin, yeah!
No, I was thinking of Dianne Feinstein.
Yep.
So what we're saying is, in terms of the ability to record events, we have di-fi, not hi-fi.
Yeah, and if you can, it's going to be a case where I am going to compare this, so you agree with the Democrats that only journalists, certifiable journalists, hey, I've got my own journalistic card from Polygrok LLC certifying that I'm a journalist, and I can start wearing that.
I bet you can get several of us certified.
I bet you I can too. But by established TV news stations, they're like Ray is lucky enough if they get 30 seconds on the air, and they're going to focus in on the person who's actually spoken, the main speaker, maybe for a few seconds, and that's about
And
it.
in this case, they'll focus in on John Bolton, and then they'll cut to something he said that they didn't like out of context, and say, "Look at the kind of hicks these guys invite into the state."
Yeah. Yep. And you know,
Which will be a great
that'll be it.
Which will be a great disservice to the Hillsborough County Republicans and to John Bolton, who has a lot of good things to say.
Yeah, and I'm going to go after Mike Kitch of the Laconia Daily Sun because he put in another smear job in print media, and I had the video to back up that he's absolutely wrong. So, you know, you get what you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Kitch on Kitch.
And before before we run off the end of the half hour, first of all, I'm holding here The Economist, referring to the weakened West after all of Obama's faux pas on the international stage. But we noted, and Skip noted in print last night, that Obama is, of course, talking with Rouhani, probably at the behest of Jarrett, as we noted. But the point is, we seem to be approaching a rapprochement. Monday is the 75th anniversary of Neville Chamberlain announcing peace in our time.
Oh boy.
If Obama says anything significant on Monday, watch out.
That's it for this segment. Next segment, we will have Kevin Bloom and guest to discuss some legislative priorities coming up in New Hampshire. I'm Steve McDonald here with Skip Murphy and Mike Rogers, and we will be right back.
Howdy.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay.
Howdy, how are you?
Hi, good.
Hi there, Steve.
I can step aside and do some news research if you want, or do you want to go and sit and chat to them, whichever you prefer.
Your choice.
Yeah, I'll go research some news. I'm okay.
Oh, okay.
I got a couple of things I
let's
want
slide
to
that headset down, and he can grab.
Yep.
He can grab mics.
We also have a live camera going on.
So actually, if you want to slide down this end,
We're
you'll
in
be
break,
in
so
full view.
put the headphones on. You'll just hear whatever's going on in the background.
Yep. Let me know if you need more sound or not out of your headset.
Okay.
As we're getting more equipment, better equipment.
You knew I was running for city council in Concord, right?
No. I don't-
Okay.
Well, we can talk about it.
Yeah, we've got a whole lot of fun legislative priorities here that
Cool.
they're all fun. And
Well, we'll just bring you in and cut you loose, and you just go talk about whatever.
sounds good.
We'll just make sure that we have you guys on camera as opposed to us, which is fine. Camera runs continuously, and then I'll just chop it up and put it up over the weekend. We actually
Use the only parts where we look good. It'll be real short.
Well, right now we use it as a backup. We just got a new board, so we have one recording device. We're gonna have it recording.
Hopefully
off the
a
laptop.
backup, yeah. And then this is our backup. So
Yeah.
3 weeks ago we recorded the whole show. Didn't have a camera in studio, and it didn't record.
The other thing I
man.
forgot to do was to bring the cable to go from the board into
To
the
get the audio.
for Shane, for anybody on the phone, because we now have 2 phone lines in. That's why we get the new board. So we'll be starting the live audio streaming in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
In fact, I gotta look for where is that laptop?
It's around somewhere.
Yeah. So
Is it in that bag?
maybe we used to.
I don't know. It was here when I left last week.
Yeah, we used to live audio stream and video stream in the previous version before we went on hiatus. So yeah, well, I mean, it's amazing what you can do with not a whole lot of equipment, with just a bunch of motivation.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
I mean, when we go to these events, we do basically a TV and a laptop, TV studio and a laptop.
Wow. We just got a new facility for the informal university at in Manchester.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big warehouse, and we're want to put up some kind of a sound studio. So we'll be getting a hold of you and asking for your advice,
Sure.
just for people that want to go in and record stuff.
You just have to remember one thing. We're bloggers. We use this stuff to add to our blogging. We're not professional audio
But we
engineers.
do have some minor experience with it. I mean, Skip could tell you
Oh yeah, we've been
all
doing
this
it.
crap, so.
That's the best kind of experience.
Yeah.
Well, there's a guy that I met through Spreaker, Earl Hall, and I'm call in. He was Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Oh, I gotta come back in. Sorry, hang on.
GrokTV.